right. Well, we'll go ahead and start. There might be more folks that join us along the way, so we'll hopefully um, they'll be able to join in without any issues. I'm not getting any emails, so I don't see anybody that's having trouble logging in, so that's a good thing.
Right.
So for the folks who are here, hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Nicole Pretry. I'm the Vice President of Development for Cedar Community. And I want to welcome you today to and thank you for putting up with our first webinar we've ever attempted. We're all adapting in this new normal of ours. And we thank Bruce for also being flexible. And when we emailed him and said, what do you think about trying to make our seminar a webinar? He said, let's go for it. So here we are. So I am here today to introduce to you Bruce Nemovitz. He's a senior real estate specialist, a certified residential specialist, as well as a certified senior advisor. He has started a company to help agents across the country understand the unique perspectives of seniors and their families as they transition from their longtime homes. Bruce sells residential homes in the 4-county Milwaukee metro area and has done so for over 35 years. He has published a book called Moving in the Right Direction, A Senior's Guide to Moving and Downsizing. Bruce received the 2010 Realtor of the Year Award from the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors, and he's been listed in Milwaukee Magazine's 5-star agents list for the last 7 years in a row. And before I introduce Bruce, I will just kind of reiterate that if you have questions along the way, go ahead and type those into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And what we'll do is at the end, since you are all muted and can't ask the questions yourselves, I will ask them for you on your behalf to Bruce for answers. So, and with that, go ahead and take it away, Bruce.
Thanks so much, Nicole. I'm really excited about this. It's a new way of doing seminars. I'm normally standing in front of folks and I get to see your faces, but I think just the fact that you're on here, it really makes me happy that you're that interested to want to hear about real estate and what we have to say. So I've been doing this for about 40 years, believe it or not, and I work with my wife, Jean, and I just really enjoy what I do. I'm hoping that that this will work okay because I want to make sure that the picture changes. There we go. Now we got it working. So that's my team. I work with my wife, Jean. Austin is a young millennial. We'll talk a little bit about millennials. Erica is my assistant also. She's just wonderful. And together we work with all our clients and really try to make our team just sort of like a air traffic controller where we have all the services that you would ever need to make sure that you don't have to look in the yellow pages or go with people you don't know. And we have sort of a Bruce's list of all the partners that we do have. I want to talk a little bit about procrastination. We all tend to hold back a little bit because moving is tough. I've been talking to many folks in the last few days who are ready to make that move, but they've been contemplating it for a year, 2 years. Obviously with the virus and all that, people are going, should I move? Shouldn't I move? Is this the right time? And I'll talk a little bit about that. But I think the number one thing that holds all of us back is fear of change, fear of the unknown. We know where we live, we know our neighbors, and the thought of going from someplace we've been in for probably 30, 40, 50 years, I've had people in for 60 years, changing your environment and where you live is really, it's tough. So, but I will tell you this, all the folks that I meet, sometimes in the beginning, they have the look of deer in headlights, like, oh my God, what am I doing? But when I run into them after they make the move, I'll see them at a grocery store, wherever. And the thing that I hear most always is, boy, I should have done this sooner. So again, I know it's scary to think about moving from a long time home, but I can tell you changing your lifestyle to where you are today, not where you were when you bought the house 30 years ago, just can be absolutely fantastic. So as I said, with change, you're going to take your memories with you. I know it's hard to believe right now, and I know because you have so many memories in the home, it feels like your home is your best friend. you know your neighbors, but many of the neighbors have already moved away. So sometimes we tend to hold on to our past, and that's understandable. But I try to urge folks to look where you are today. You know, is your home working for you now? Does it have stairs? You know, is it too large? I know a lot of the homes today people are using for sort of storage areas for the grandkids and things you got from your parents years ago. I go into homes where they haven't been in the second floor for years. So it could be sort of like a mini warehouse. We'll talk a little bit about what to do with all those things. I know that you probably accumulated things over the years, and that's tough. So um, this is important here. Everyone truly wants what's best for you, including, of course, you. And sometimes when we talk with our families, they want the best for us, but they sometimes it feels like they're talking down to us. I know my own kids, when they talk to me, they give me advice as if I'm a child. And sure you've had this before if you have children. And it's important, I think, that we all listen to each other. Sometimes our children will talk in the first pronoun I, like mom or dad, I think you should move. I'm worried about you. I think the house is too big for you. I. And what we translated into is them, them, them. It's about them. And it can really create some friction in families. So I think having a good family meeting, a family discussion to talk about honoring each other's feelings and for you to express what you truly do feel to your children and ask the same of them, because again, the intentions are great, but it's all new to us, and sometimes it can create I think, you know, some conflict in the family. So a family meeting, I think, is really, really important. What is the state of the market? I was just talking to Nicole about this, Carrie. We have a really, really unique market. I've been in this, as I told you, many, many, many years. And I've never seen a market quite like this. And why is it unique? It's because we have a load of buyers, more than I think I've ever seen right now. And I say right now because this can change overnight. But interest rates are at an all-time low, lower than they've ever been, I think, in the history of interest rates. It's down to 3% for a 30-year fixed rate loan. And you can get a 15-year fixed rate at 15%, which is incredible. I remember back in the 80s, I was selling real estate, and many of you probably remember interest rates were all the way up to 20%. And believe it or not, we were still selling homes then. So the urge and the necessity to buy a home is so strong that it will survive any kind of market. The only thing that fluctuates would be price. Price is up and down, just like the stock market. Now, the state of the market right now, there are so many buyers, as I told you, and there's so few sellers. Sellers have held off for probably the last 3 years or so. But during this crisis we've had, it's really, really been slow as far as homes being put on the market. Now that has been up till, I would say, 2 days ago. And now with the market technically open, I've been getting calls, quite a few calls. I listed 3 properties in the last day, and I hadn't listed any during that whole period because everyone wanted to wait till it was over. So I know that I believe I'm just one realtor out of 4,000. So you can imagine how many homes will probably be going on the market. So what we do know about the market now is that prices have gone up about 7% since January, believe it or not. And it's gone up probably about 5 to 6% for the last 3 years before that. So being a seller is awesome right now. Being a buyer, not so good, other than the interest rates. They have to pay these higher prices. There is a point in capitalism where the price, if it gets too high, buyers then will start to pull back, and then prices will start to go back down, and that's how the market works. So What we do know, if you want an insurance policy, if you're trying to time the market, or you just worried about, am I going to get the most out of my house? If you are able to put your home in the market in the next month, I would say month and a half, you will probably be very, very happy with the results, because again, we're just starting to see a trickle of properties come on the market, and I believe by July, August, September, we may see, I don't want to say too many homes, but it may sort of even everything out, and it could start to favor buyers. And then when that happens, time for selling becomes longer, and of course prices then begin to fall back a little bit. So not only that, buyers become more demanding. When the market starts shrinking, the buyers know they're sort of in the driver's seat, and they'll ask you to fix things they normally wouldn't even ask or think of asking now, because they just want your house. So again, it's a great time to sell. Now, the people you'll probably be selling to in most cases, depending on your price level, but if it's under 400,000 or 350, something like that, you'll probably be dealing with the younger buyers, as we call them, the millennial buyers. You can see age 25 to 37. There's 80 million of them, and that's almost the exact same number as there were baby boomers. Baby boomers are age 55 to about 73, 74. And the baby boomer population now, I think, is about 73 million. So we've lost 7 million of our boomers. And as you can see, 34% living with their grandparents or parents. So I don't know if any of you have that situation, but a lot of that is due to college debt for these young people. But their incomes, in many cases, is excellent. If it's two people purchasing, they can usually afford, because of these low rates, they can go all the way up to 300,000 to 400,000 for their first-time buyer home. But you can see that the average is about 190,000, and you see the average square foot there is 1720. And again, there's a very high possibility, if you aren't selling to a millennial, the buyer of your home sold to a millennial. So somehow they'll probably be involved. Now, what if your home is not updated? There's, I think, a fallacy going on, which I've seen, is that millennials don't want to do anything. They want to buy a perfect home. They want it in perfect condition. They'll walk if it doesn't have brand new kitchen, new baths, and all that. That's not true. Yes, that is true for some, just as in any group. But these young people are also looking to build some sweat equity, and so they will buy homes that need work. But the one thing I will tell you, if you walk away with any ideas from this webinar, is that fix any defects. These young people definitely do not want to be fixing basements. They don't want to put on a new roof if it needs it immediately. They don't want to be putting in a brand new furnace if the furnace is shot. So anything, I would say, in the way of defects, I would really urge you to fix those things before you put your home on the market. And I have a list of all the contractors, as I told you, so that you don't have to go around looking. And I've used them many, many, many times, and I get all the responses from my sellers. And so the people that I've narrowed it down to are very good people. Now, the key points is that what I just told you, they know the value of your home. They are sometimes smarter than we are. They really research. I've had cases where we've showed young millennial buyers who actually know the name of the seller, where the seller works, how much the seller makes, how long the seller's owned the home. I mean, all of this information is public, so they really do their research. And so if you overprice your home, which you don't want to, especially with this many buyers out there, you want to hit that sweet spot, because they will know if it's overpriced. And if a home sits on the market, in this kind of market, more than probably 3 weeks, the buyers become sort of weary of that home, because they know homes are selling so quickly, because they're putting offers in, and in many homes there's multiple offers. Now, I think starting the process is really important. What needs to be done to prepare your home? What is it worth and all that? So I come out, I think Carrie and Nicole have been very kind to me, and they've sent me many people who've moved into senior communities at Cedar communities. And the people I've had go there absolutely love it. I've talked to them after they've moved. I know that a few that I've talked to recently have told me that they are really close to moving there, but they're worried, that if they wait too long, there may not be apartments available. So as I told you, I think there's going to be a rush of sellers in the next 2 to 3 months going to senior communities. And so the one that you've had your eye on, hopefully Cedar Communities, may start to have less options for you. So I think the sooner you do that, the better. And as I told you, it's a seller's market now, but that can change overnight. Just like you saw the market change on March 15th, literally overnight. People ask me all the time, what controls the real estate market? And I always tell them it's usually world events. Obviously, you've heard we have some events going on now socially in the country. And so that can have an effect in the future. But right now, things are looking real good. And so a good insurance policy always is to sell, when you know that the market is favoring you, the seller. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about downsizing. I know that people save things. You probably have a few things accumulated over the years. I can't tell you, whatever you think you have. I've seen homes that I've seen hoarders and everything else. And the good news is we have people, good friends, partners that can help you downsize your home very easily. No matter how many things you have. I've had homes where I've had to walk in the living room sideways, kind of snaking my way through. And those houses we've cleared out with no problem whatsoever. So Smart Moves, as you see, that's the company that I use quite often. Another company is Universal Movers. And those two are the premier moving company and downsizing companies. And as I go forward, I have their information for you so that you can take it down if you need that. I work in tandem with them. So we work sort of like a team. And I'll tell you about how we work together in a moment. But the thing that after I walk through a home and I come into your home and I let you know what it's worth, and I see if there's any improvements that maybe we need to make, just barely improving, depending on when you're moving and things like that. But when I leave, I will always encourage people then to call Smart Moves and have them then come in after me, because they will make your fears go away as far as, oh my God, I got all these things. How can I move? How can I time it? This is too overwhelming. And overwhelming is what I hear almost all the time. So we take folks from overwhelming, and when we both leave, if you have Smart Moves come over, the feeling is we can do this. We really, really can do this. And we now know how it's going to actually happen. Knowledge is the best thing. Otherwise, you will just be frozen in fear if you don't get all the facts. So they will come over, they give you a game plan, as you can see. They'll tell you how they coordinate with not only myself at Realty Executives selling your home, but how they'll coordinate with Cedar Communities. And they know all the elevators, where the rooms are. So again, we've done this many, 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 many times, and don't feel alone. That's the best thing I can tell you. And you want to start with a game plan. Make a list, as it says, of what's most important. You start with the areas that have less things. You don't want to start in a room that's got so many things that you don't even know where to begin. And again, talking about a floor plan, think of where you're going to be going, how you would visualize moving the things you're going to move into. One thing I hear many times also is that I have a 2,400 square foot home. I'm moving to a 1,200 square foot or 1,400 square foot apartment or a 900 square foot apartment. How can I live in there? I can't even imagine it. Well, think about the rooms you actually use in your home. Usually it's a kitchen, living room, bedroom, and a bathroom. And you add that square footage up, it's probably about 600 square feet. The rest of the home, you're really probably not using in most cases. It's nice to have the room. Maybe you have some guests over every now and then, but if you think about what you're actually using, you'll find that you're maybe using less than the apartment you're going to move into, because where you move in, you will be using every single square foot of it, which is nice. And you'll be able to pare the things down, so now you'll have just the things you want there. You won't be stumbling over things and looking for things. So your life is going to be simplified. And I think that's what many of my clients tell me, that they just want to simplify. They want to downsize. They don't want to be buying things anymore. They just want to pare things down a little bit. So visualize your new space where you may be moving to. What to do with the things you're not keeping. As you can see there, friends, buyers. I will tell you this, when you sell your home, the best buyer for your, say, furniture and things like that would be the buyer of your home. So I tell people, just, if you're selling while you're living there and keeping the furniture in there, don't think about selling it, because the buyer may want to buy all your garden equipment. They might want to buy your dining room table, your couch, because it all fits in the home. And many of these buyers are coming from an apartment where they have very, very little. So they might even buy your bedroom sets and things like that. There's also estates and all that. And Smart Moves works with a guy named Eric. He's from Heritage and Associates. They do the Channel 10 auction. So they work with him in tandem. So if you need an estate sale, they can have Eric come over. And at the end, Eric then would have your house completely vacated as you tell him where you want things to go as far as donations, things like that. And I also have a gentleman that'll come with 3 guys, and they'll dispose of anything you want. So I've seen them do almost a complete home in 2 days of tons of stuff, taking things to Goodwill, the women's battered shelter, all the places that you want to donate. So I have all these people to help with the downsizing. So please do not panic. You're not alone. We've all saved a lot of stuff. So, and again, we know how to do it, and Smart Moves helps. Here's some downsizing myths that you've heard. That your friends, family, kids, that they're going to want all the things, and as you can see, they'll pay a lot of money. No, your kids probably have their own things. They're probably not going to need your things. Friends have their own things. So again, don't plan on that, and don't hold off. I have people that are holding off, waiting for family to come and see if they want this or that. If you do that, you may not end up selling for 5 years. It could be a long, long process. And I tell people, send a nice email out or a note to all your family and say, look, here's the deadline. If you want anything, come on over, get it. After that, we're throwing it out, or whatever, something, so that they come and there's an actual deadline. Otherwise, they're going to be very mad at you if you do throw something away and now you've moved, and they go, where's my doll that you gave me when I was 4? And you don't want that to happen. So again, give the family the first chance to come over, but give them a deadline of about 2 weeks or so. You can even take pictures of things to send to the family. Now, as we say, the family and friends probably will not want your things, and it'll be easier to sort through and downsize after I move. No. Again, you want to be getting help with this, and you want to start going through things now. I tell people, maybe put a post-it slip on things you absolutely know you're going to take. Maybe you put a yellow post-it slip on those things. Put then a blue post-it slip on things that you think you might take, you're not really 100% sure. Then put another color for things you know that your family wants, and then all the rest should be donated. And think about that. I talk about the women's battered shelter because, and you can look them up online, but these are women that come into the shelter with nothing. They have no furniture, they have very few clothes. So, why not give it to people that can enjoy it right now? Why hold on to them? If you haven't used it in the last year, you probably aren't going to use it. So now, selling your home. I try to break it down and make it a little easy for you, but there's basically three ways of selling. The first way would be if your home is really in rough shape, the roof is bad, the siding's bad, the basement's bad, which is very rare, but it happens. We have what's called cash brokers, and you've heard flippers. These are people that come in and they'll pay cash, they'll close in 2 weeks, but they will only pay usually about 40 cents on a dollar. So, if you got a $200,000 home, they'll pay about 80,000 for it. So very few people go with that scenario. I've had it mostly where people inherit homes that were left vacant for a long time, things like that. But that's not going to apply to you. Now, the second way is the way that almost, I'd say 90% of my clients sell their home. Fix the defects. I told you that before. When I come over to look at your home and it's free, I'll walk through the home. It takes about 45 minutes for the appointment. And if I see something like, I'll see maybe a crack in your basement wall, or I see seepage where we need to have it looked at. As an example, I would have Accurate Basement come over. They're fantastic. They did my basement. They did hundreds of clients of mine. They're honest. If it doesn't need work, they'll tell you it doesn't need work. Also, when I come over, I'll give you a folder with all my contractors and things like that. So again, you want to fix those defects if you can, because buyers just don't have the money to come in with their down payment, and then all of a sudden now they got to come in with another $15,000 for a roof or a basement. Sometimes a new furnace can be, $5,000. So again, if you know something is absolutely at the end of its life, I would tell you to think about replacing it. And if you need names, I have that. The third way to sell and then getting back to the second way, I should also say, we just get the house to clean. We just want it nice and clean, the defects taken care of. If there's an eyesore, a hole in the ceiling, we're going to fix that, so anything that has an eyesore, we want to cover that up. And the third way, if you want to get top dollar and you can afford to do this and it's not that expensive, it's kind of the easiest way to move. So you move into Cedar communities first and take the things you want, and Smart Moves, if you're using them, will help you pack, sort, and take those things. And then the things left behind, we can have the estate sale, we can have the donation, get the house to vacant, and then I work with a stager that will bring in furniture and make it look absolutely gorgeous. She'll put some pictures up, some knickknacks up. That may cost, could be $2,500 or so, and so much a month to rent the furniture, but it's so worth it. And in those cases too, we may have some paint done to the home, and the stager would pick out the colors that young people like. They don't like beige, they like, the gray tones, blue gray, things like that. So you want to have it painted the colors that the young people like, obviously, because they're going to be buying your home. So that's another way. The third way would be to move first, basically get the house to vacant, then take care of any eyesores. Then the stager would put some furniture and pictures up, little knickknacks, and those houses usually have multiple offers, and they go probably in the first, couple of days or so. Timing the sale, I talked about, are you going to move first, or are you going to sell the home first and then move? Majority of the people I have sell the home first, then move. We can work out timing now because, again, the market is such where there aren't a lot of listings on the market. So we can sometimes have you living in the home up to 3 months after we get an accepted offer, because the buyers will basically go along with any terms you want because you're in the driver's seat. But that's only right now, and I'll tell you about my prediction in a moment. But right now, you can say to the buyer, you know what, I'll sell it to you today. We'll put the closing off 2 months. We can't put it off longer than that because the buyer needs to lock their interest rate in. And then we'll put a clause in saying that you could stay in the home up to 30 days after the closing, and you basically make their payment for those 30 days. You've already gotten your money at the closing, so you're no longer paying property taxes or anything. And we can divide that up by the days. So divide it by 30, you might be paying $50 or $60 a day for the days that you stay after the closing. So think about that. I mean, if we sold your house in mid-June, we could close in mid-August, and you could stay all the way to mid-September. So you can spend the whole summer in your home if you want to. It all depends on, of course, when you sign up to make your move. There's the information for smart moves. Give you a moment if you want to take that number down. I strongly urge you to call them. They're really kind. You can see Melinda and her mother Sue. They're the owners. That's their grandmother. I actually sold their grandmother's home, but they're just wonderful people. They're easy to work with. They're honest, and they will become your best friend throughout the move. So if you take that number down, email is there. You can give our website and give them a call. These are just some of the partners that I have, and again, I have an elder law attorney. If you have trust issues, title issues, your kids, are getting involved in some way. And I pardon the noise. There might be a little wishing. That's my computer making its fan noise, so I apologize for that. I also have a CPA if you need that. I have credit unions if you need to borrow a little money to make your move. And other than that, I have everybody you could possibly need. I even have a company for Veterans Affairs, things like that. So again, there's my team, and we are there for you when you need us. We handle everything from the downsizing to the selling to getting all the contractors you'll ever need, so that again, that you don't have to be going to the yellow pages and getting all confused, overwhelmed, not knowing what to do next. And I've done this for a long, long time. I love what I do, and I always put your interests first, because you're the one I know that's going through this tough time to make a decision from your longtime home to a senior community such as Cedar Communities. So in ending, I will just say that thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Now I think maybe we'll go to questions.
Yes, do we have any questions? I haven't gotten any, there's nothing typed in, but if anybody that's in attendance has a question for Bruce, please go down to the lower part of your screen. You'll see the Q&A little icon there, and you can type in a question that we can ask Bruce. I'll ask you a question, Bruce. So you were talking a little bit before about fixing major things, but not fixing minor things, cosmetic things. Is there do people sometimes come in and say, well, they want an allowance for something like that? Or how does that typically work in a negotiation?
Okay, so what I would say is if it's an eyesore, as I told you before, let's say I just went into a home and it looked really nice, but the living room was stained on the ceiling and the walls. So I urge them to have a painter come in and paint the walls and ceiling, just that one area. Yes, we could say we'll give you a credit for that, but I always equate it to if you're buying a car and you see it in the car lot, you're all excited, and then you open the door and the carpet's torn and the guy says it's got a cracked engine block, but we'll give you credit for that. You're going to walk away from that. You're not going to buy that, or you wouldn't pay very much for it. So I think credits usually come after the sale when the buyer has a home inspection. And when the buyer has a home inspection, things are going to come up in the home inspection, such as electrical things, plumbing. Sometimes chimneys come up with flu problems, things like that. And I don't mean the flu that we get when we're sick. I mean the flu in the chimney, sometimes the roof, and other things. So that's where usually the credits come in, where we, as a team, negotiate with your buyer so that you don't want to maybe be fixing things. Maybe we give them a $3,000 to $5,000 credit for if the chimney was bad or something like that. And there's certain ways we can do that. We have to watch it with the lender because I don't even want to go into that now, but we have to give them a credit in a certain way, because the seller cannot be giving the buyer money when you're selling if they have a mortgage lender that they're using. So again, in most cases, um, yes, you can do a credit. I've sold homes where it had a bad basement, and the minimum we should do is get a report, because that way we can show the buyers, here's what it's going to cost to fix the basement, just so they understand, the cost that is involved, and then they can work that into their offer rather than making an offer. Then they get the report, and then they lower their offer by 20,000, and now you're stuck with them. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, Bruce. Okay, so we have another question from Daniel. Daniel asks, we have been holding off on even looking at a new location because we have a camper to park for 6 months every summer. Not many in-town or senior living communities allow this. Are we correct in our thinking?
Well, here's my thinking. I believe, I don't have a camper, but I'm positive there's places you can park the camper, where you'll pay a small rental fee to park the camper. If you're basing your entire move on a camper, that means you're not now going to be selling till fall. Now think about it. We don't know this virus thing, if it's coming back, maybe it doesn't. So the market it's unstable, I would say, right now. There's no prediction. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. I had a long talk with a client yesterday, and they said, should we sell in August? And I said, well, you can, but you may call me and I may tell you that all of a sudden buyers are backing off now because they're scared of one thing or another. And so to do this for a camper, I don't think I would recommend that, because I know that you can find places to park the camper and pay a small rental fee. I know it's state fair. I know there's different areas where you can park them. So I just look at selling now as an insurance policy. It's an insurance policy to say we know what the market is now, but no way we know what's going to happen. I would say a month from now, we don't even know what's going to happen. I mean, we have unrest going on, and so on and so on and so forth in the country, and then we have the COVID thing. So and we don't know with the job thing, if that's going to come back. So there's just too many unknowns to gamble. If I were doing this, and if you know you're going to move in the next 4 months, 6 months, I would not gamble and wait. Definitely would not.
Okay, thanks for that answer, Bruce. And Dan and Carol, I can also tell you that we actually do have a place at Cedar Community where you can park and pay a small rental fee for a camper. So there are some out there. It's a good question to call when you're calling around to learn more about a retirement community, to see if they do have that option. And like I said, at Cedar Community, one of the things we are blessed with is land, and we do have that option here as well. So, are there any other questions that we have? Well, what I just also want to let folks know is remind folks that our new Cedar Ridge duplex homes are under construction on our Cedar Ridge campus. If you haven't been to our Cedar Ridge campus, there's a lot of big dirt piles, and we actually have structures and roofs going up. It's very exciting. They're beautiful 1,700 square foot ranch homes. They feature 2 bedrooms and a den or office, 2.5 bathrooms, a 2-car garage, a full basement, and no maintenance, which is the best part. And also access to all of our lake amenities that we have at Cedar Community. So just wanted to kind of remind everybody about that exciting new construction project we have going on here. And also, as Bruce said before, things are moving quickly now that things are starting to open back up, and we definitely have a run going on our apartments right now. We actually have quite a few folks that are interested, are making plans to move in. And if you're interested in an apartment, even our 2-bedroom apartments are going to be, they're going to be hard to come by very, very shortly. So if you have any interest at all, definitely keep that in mind. what we'll do is we'll have Kathy or Abby from Cedar Community follow up with each of you that were with us today to see if you either would like us to get you information on anything from Cedar Community, or if we can get you a copy of Bruce's book and his folder that he has that has all the information on his contractors and everything he talked about as well. And Bruce will probably follow up with you as well, just for a quick check-in with you to see if you have any other questions about selling your home or downsizing. But if there are any other questions, please type them in real quick. Bruce, any last thoughts?
As I think about this, as I said, I know this is a tough decision for you to make, and I don't recommend moving if it's not what you want to do. But if you know that the home just isn't working for you, you're going to do this. The timing is like perfect right now, absolutely perfect. The numbers have gone up so high, and I just have that feeling that months, 2-3 months from now, the whole thing can change completely. So if you're going to do it, I know Cedar has the rooms available. I will go over there, take a look, because one thing I tell people is if you're not excited about where you're moving to and don't have an actual commitment to move there, nothing's ever going to happen. So I'd get over there, take a look. And if you do get a move-in date, once you have that date, I can come over, I'll set up a whole program for you. We'll make it so that it's pressure-free, and we'll make sure that you're not pushed to move. We know that we can take care of all the stuff, so try not to let that stop you, because I know that stops many, many people overwhelmed about that. And because I think if too often people wait too long, and especially if you're a couple, something can happen health-wise, and all of a sudden one's in rehab, and now we're trying to sell your home, have you move in all, in 30 days or something. So you don't want a forced move or a quick move, and do it while you're healthy and feeling good. And that's the best thing I can tell you. And I know the people I run into love their new lifestyle because they're free. They can go visit their grandchildren, turn the key, don't have to worry about the lawn or the furnace going out, or somebody breaking in or anything like that. And so freedom, I think, is the word to remember. Hope that helps.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bruce. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today in our first webinar. I think we can call it a success, Bruce. I think we did okay.
Yeah.
No major technical difficulties. Yay us. And enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and stay cool out there. And thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us today. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.